I recently read an article that said that only 9% of the people who got Section 8 vouchers ever stopped using them. Now, one city in Iowa is trying to change that and make it so more people become self-reliant. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have quite the interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the state of Iowa, and it has to do with Section 8 and how, basically one city realized that a lot of people, they remain reliant upon these Section 8 vouchers to help them pay their rent forever. Okay, they never stop using them. They use them indefinitely, which is part of the problem we've run into now. We've come into places where people have had vouchers for 20, 30 years, and they're not disabled people. They're not elderly people. These are able-bodied people who never found their way into being able to pay their own bills. Now, that's insane in my opinion. Now, some people are like, oh, but all these factors, all this different stuff. Listen, people's lives change. And it amazes me that these people's lives have changed so little over a 20-year period. And that could be due to bad decisions, or it could be due to the fact that once they get that government check, they become reliant upon it. And that's what I don't want to see happening. So this city in Iowa, Iowa City, Iowa, has actually created a program to help people become self-reliant, be able to pay their own bills, and not have to use a Section 8 voucher. Now, this is the sort of thing we want to see. Now, I don't think this program is effective enough, but it is more effective than what they were doing before, so it's better than nothing. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. So do you think that we should be able to get people off of Section 8 and become self-reliant? Okay, I do, okay? And I'm saying that as a landlord who, at least previously, used to accept Section 8 tenants, used to have Section 8 tenants. Now, would it bother me if my tenants were able to eventually go get a job, be able to support themselves, and no longer have a voucher? No, it wouldn't, okay? As long as I'm getting paid my rent, I'd be perfectly happy. Now, what does bother me is we have Section 8 tenants up in your property. I have to continue to jump through all these stupid bureaucratic hoops, like inspections and stupid repairs and, not getting that little minuscule 30% of, the check that the tenant is supposed to pay, and having to go through my unit being trashed after the Section 8 tenant destroyed it. I had to go through all that nonsense, right? And I would much rather have a market rate tenant up in there and not have to go through most of it, okay? But anyway, let me tell you what Iowa City, Iowa is doing. This article is coming from kcrg.com, and it says Iowa City Housing Program helps more people get off housing vouchers. And that's what I want to hear. I want to see more people getting off of housing vouchers, period. Anyway, let's see what the article says. A housing program in Iowa City is getting more people off of housing vouchers, what used to be known as Section 8. The Family Self-Sufficiency Program is designed to help families become less dependent on public assistance. Iowa City's housing administrator said the program's success is the reason why it's seeing higher demand. The program started with just one employee, but as the program has seen more clients, it's added 3 more workers. It's successful because it connects people to resources they might not think is available to them, because most people get caught up in the loop of not knowing where to go, said Abdelatif Idris. Idris is one of the program's coordinators. So obviously, our overall goal would be to have as few people reliant on the government using government services as possible. Now, we're never going to get down to zero. It's just not going to happen. And being in the United States, it is nice to know that we have some sort of social safety net in case you do have some sort of disaster in your life. I mean, that is something that only wealthy countries really even have in place. So, yes, I mean, while I don't like socialism and I don't like socialist programs, I do believe that if we keep them as small as possible for, the program to still work and still be able to cover you in case of an emergency, that would be the best way to go about doing it. Okay, so Iowa City, they're like, hey, we got to get people off of this. We got to get people off of Section 8. Now, what I don't think is a great idea is, we got all this huge government department to get people off of the program. You know, you went from 1 employee to 4 employees just trying to get people off of Section 8. You know, well, that's another story, okay? But anyway, let me continue. Idris is one of the program's coordinators. They're in charge of meeting with families, setting financial goals, and connecting them with the right resources. A lot of that is through employment supports, helping them with resume building, educational materials they might need to know how to job interview or to search for positions, said Rachel Carter. Carter is Iowa City's housing administrator. She says 45% of the Family Self-Sufficiency Program's participants get off of housing choice vouchers, which she said is a big increase compared to people on housing choice vouchers who don't choose to participate. She said less than 9% of that group ever get off of housing vouchers. Now, those two stats right there are very telling, okay? So, first of all, only 9% of the people who ever start using a housing voucher ever get off of it, ever stop using it. And I'm sure they're talking about a time frame of, you know, at least 10 years, okay? So these people, once they get relying on that government money, they never stop using it. And I've seen this. I have seen this in real life with people I've met before who basically they went from the time that they got that voucher and they were on it, you know, for 20 years. And that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. So the goal should be to, hey, you know what? You lost your job or you got injured or whatever, right? And now, after whatever time period, in the case of the federal government, the proposal is 2 years. Now you're self-sufficient again. You've gotten a new job. You've gotten back on your feet. And, you know, that crisis that really hurt you, it's over. So you're able to pay your bills, you're able to go about your business, and the government doesn't have to pay your rent for you. That's the way it should be, okay? And I'm not just talking about Section 8 here, of course, okay? Now, obviously, this is a landlord channel, so I talk about Section 8 a lot, but this also means, like, food stamps, okay? Like, you can't tell me that, you know, people are selling their food stamps. That's how much money they get. They literally are up here selling them at pennies on the dollar so that they can get a little bit of extra cash because the government is giving them so much money. This is ridiculous, okay? You're selling a government benefit. Give me a break. Absolutely idiotic. And the only thing I could see would be comparable in terms of real estate would be you have a Section 8 housing voucher and then you sublet the house to someone else, or maybe you rent a room, you know, meanwhile, you're not even paying rent. You got the government paying your rent for you, and you're renting a room in there because you're like, hey, I don't even need all this free money that the government's giving me, so I want to pocket some cash myself. That's why you see a lot of cases of, you know, Section 8 people who have nicer cars than people who are working full time, okay? Or people who are paying their own bills. You know, keep in mind, a lot of people who are working Section 8 or who are receiving Section 8 are working full time. What they're not doing, though, is working at their full potential. And that's where the problem is, okay? I can't tell you the stories I've heard, and no names are going to be mentioned, but people turning down higher paying jobs, people purposefully only working part-time, people quitting jobs, you know, people rejecting promotions, people turning down overtime when they think they're going to lose their voucher because their income will go above a certain level. Okay, give me a break. Idiotic. But, you know, this whole situation with Section 8, this is one of those things where I believe in the cuts that they're proposing. I believe that, well, we should minimize it. And at the end of the day, all I can say is that eventually they will run out of other people's money. Okay? That's the way all these socialist programs work. Eventually, they won't have any money. And you're going to have all these people who really will end up homeless because they don't know how to work.